This extract is from the novel The Swiss Family Robinson, written by Johann Wyss, a Swiss pastor. A Swiss family of immigrants whose ship en route to Port Jackson, Australia, goes off course and is shipwrecked in the East Indies. Swept off course by a raging storm, a Swiss pastor, his wife, and their 4 young sons are shipwrecked on an uncharted tropical island. The ship's crew is lost, but the family and several domestic animals survive. This brave family, that is marooned on an island, reach their new deserted island home. This extract is about how they work together to build a shelter. The father is the narrator. That night, we slept on the grass under the trees. In the morning, our first task was to make a ladder. We had to have a ladder in order to climb into the house that we were going to build in a giant tree. We had plenty of rope, but we needed pieces of bamboo to make the steps of the ladder and also to make some bows and arrows. We found some bamboos growing by the river at some distance from the wood. We cut the pieces we needed and brought them together in a bundle to carry back to the wood. On our way there, Ernest carried the bundle while Fritz and I held our guns ready, for we never knew what wild animals we should meet. Our brave dog Flora walked in front of us. Suddenly, Flora jumped into some bushes, barking excitedly. Immediately, a flock of flamingos flew out. It took us a long time to make the ladder, but we succeeded in finishing it before nightfall. Then we had to fix it to one of the lower branches of our giant tree. We did this by shooting an arrow with a rope attached to it over the branch. The ladder was then pulled up and fixed in place. It took us several days to make our house in the tree. The younger boys helped by searching for planks on the seashore. They loaded these on the backs of the cow and the donkey and brought them to us. Fritz and I were busy cutting away the branches in the middle of the tree. Then we nailed down some planks and made a floor with a wooden fence around it. We hung 6 hammocks onto some higher branches. Finally, we covered the branches above us with a sailcloth to make a roof. Later on, I intended to make a wooden roof. The sailcloth which made the roof also formed 2 walls of the house. The 3rd wall was the trunk of the tree. The 4th side was left open. It gave us a beautiful view over the treetops to the ocean. Besides all, I made a table and some benches which I placed at the foot of the tree. That was our dining room. By Sunday, our house was finished. That day, we kept, as we always did, for prayer, rest, and pleasant talk. I think it's time for us to give a name to our home, I said to my family. And we ought to give names to the other parts of the island that we know. Let's think of names that will remind us of our adventures. A good idea, they all agreed. First of all, I said, what name shall we give the bay where we landed? Let's call it Safety Bay, said my wife, because there the good God brought us to safety. And we all agreed that the name was an excellent one. The place where we found the flamingos should be called Flamingo Marsh, said Ernest, and again we all approved. Let's call the bridge Family Bridge, my wife suggested, because the whole family helped to make it. Let's give the name of Cape Disappointment to the place where we looked in vain for the sailors, I said. Let's call the river Jackal River, said Jack. So far we were in complete agreement. However, we could not agree on the name for our new home. What about Tree Castle or Fig Town? The boys suggested, but I did not like either name. Call it Eagle's Nest, said Fritz. Our house is more like a nest than a castle or a town. The eagle is the king of birds, and we are like kings here. We aren't kings yet, I told him. Let's call it Falcon's Nest. And I hope that You are all as brave as falcons. Yes, yes, the boys cried out. We shall call it Falcon's Nest.